And we are live.
Hi, and welcome to Home Comfort Daily. I am Dan, and these are my two guest hosts, Melissa and Peggy. Today we will be talking about the NSA surveillance program and what America does and doesn't like about it. To get some background information, basically what the NSA does with America is it collects metadata in order to prevent terrorist attacks on America and its people. So let's open this conversation up for debate. What all do you guys dislike and like about the fact that they invade our privacy, more or less?
I don't like anything about the fact that they invade my privacy. I don't think they have a legal right to do that.
Nobody's invading your privacy. All we're doing is collecting metadata. Do you know what metadata is?
Yes.
It's just names and phone numbers and times. It's not words. It's not your actual conversations. It's just who you're calling and how often you're calling them.
Why do they need that information? I don't think they have any right to who I talk to on my phone. If I'm talking to my family, if I'm talking to a girlfriend, if I'm talking to a business that I.
Well, let's say there's someone on a watch list. Okay, they happen to live next door to you. They start calling you because they want to know what time you're home or what time you aren't, so that they can bomb your house. You have a problem with that?
Of course I have a problem with that.
Well, I think you'd want somebody to stop them, wouldn't you?
But I think I know my neighbors better than the fact that they're going to come and bomb my house.
Well,
we all think we know our neighbors better than
let's go ahead and touch on that subject, actually, because people that talked to the people that did the Boston Marathon Massacre, they said that those kids were very normal. They said that they lived everyday lives. They were decent kids. They were a little bit troubled, but they were okay. They didn't show signs of, wanting to commit violence. So let's go ahead and talk about how the NSA could have prevented that, and whether or not we think that, the way that they would prevent it would be just.
They might not have necessarily been able to prevent that, but nobody can prevent every disaster because some people are very secretive about when they're planning these sorts of things. The only ones we can catch are the ones who open themselves up to being caught.
I don't agree with that. I still think that they had all the information on these two boys. They went ahead and committed the crime. What good is it to anybody in this country if they can collect data and they still can't do anything about it until after a crime has been committed?
Well, let's go ahead and talk about that for a minute. How would you guys feel if they had the proper warranting, if they had the proper legal standing to go ahead and use this information without having to go through the legal system of presenting the information to people like the FBI, CIA, and all that?
I think that'd be a great idea.
I don't think that'd be a great idea. I think that is an invasion of my privacy.
Now, well, would you rather have your privacy invaded, or would you rather have another Columbine shooting?
I don't want another Columbine shooting. Nobody in America wants that. But they didn't have information on that. They didn't know in advance that those kids were going to do those shootings and stuff. How could they have prevented it just because they had information on it?
Well, the NSA isn't really allowed to present the documentation that they had, so how do we know that they didn't have a little bit of information?
And that's the problem. The NSA is allowed to collect data, not allowed to actually act on that data. All they can do is send that data to the proper authorities, who half the time ignore it. Look at the FAA. The FAA completely ignored the NSA's recommendations to tighten security prior to 9/11. There was a scenario. They did a scenario. They knew that this could happen, that an airplane could easily be taken over. The FAA was informed. They did nothing.
Do you guys think that it would be wise for the NSA to make this information public so that people could watch for certain things after the case has been handled? So let's say the NSA had some information on terrorists, they stopped the terrorist, they presented the documentation that they had on the terrorist, that way people could see what they're looking for and maybe look for that themselves.
What I'm more worried about is that becoming an actual witch hunt.
Yes.
The NSA agents are trained in psychology and sociology and several other arts and, agent, things. And they have the knowledge and the capability of knowing where to draw that line between watching and acting. Some of the American people, as has been seen recently out west by Mr. Bundy, the rancher, with his buddies with their rifles coming after federal agents, some American people don't have the decision-making knowledge necessary to deal with a terrorist. And some people will go off half-cocked, get themselves killed, if they did go after a real terrorist.
And the other thing that I don't want to happen is, okay, they target me. I'm an upstanding citizen. I haven't done anything wrong. I'm not a terrorist. But I walk down the street and they made public knowledge that they think maybe I am a terrorist.
Well,
Everywhere I go, people are going to be looking at me like, oh, what did she do? What's she going to do? I'm
Or they
scared to
make
death
the
of her.
public knowledge that you have a Muslim friend.
I understand the concept there, but what I mainly meant was after the situation had been handled, not prior to or watch list wise.
After the situation has been handled, why do we even need to know about it?
So that we can see what they are looking for in these cases, so that we can maybe present them with information that we found ourselves.
The problem with doing that is the people who are accidentally leaking this information would then know how we got it. They would recognize, oh, that fact came from, the only time I wrote that fact down or said that fact out loud was when and now they know where we got that information.
And what's to prevent somebody who doesn't like me from leaking
Making
information
stuff up.
to a newspaper or putting it on the internet that, hey, you know, Peggy said this or Peggy did that? Then everybody that I know is going to think, all right, what's she up to? Is she going to come and bomb my house because I know her? Is she going to go kill a bunch of children in a
Bottom
grade
line,
school?
the NSA has the training, they need the manpower, and they need the funding to take care of this kind of situation. This is what they're there for. We need to give them, we need to empower them to do their job.
Now, the NSA chief Alexander said that he would like to make more things about the NSA public knowledge, but he can't because there are restrictions against it. How do you guys feel that that would impact America's decision on the NSA? Do you think it would change anything?
Oh yeah, I think America would be fully behind the NSA if they knew what they do.
And what do you think?
You know, it's a possibility. If I knew exactly what they were doing, but from what I understand now, what they're actually planning on doing is taking that information that they had gathered about me or who I talk to or where I go or whatever, and handing it over to companies like Verizon or Apple or some other corporation that then has all this information about me that they sell to other companies who are constantly
Google
sending
does that already. If you have an Android or an Apple phone, even your little Verizon phone tracks your location and gives that information out to companies that will send you coupons in your email.
And let's say that they had more legal standing, they wouldn't have to do that anyway, would they? I mean, if
Well,
the NSA,
it would depend on what their legal standing was.
well, if they were allowed to collect and use the data that they get without the proper warning, do you think that they would need to go through those?
No, I think that they should have to have a warrant if they're going to do anything against you. If they're gathering information, they're gathering information. But if they act on any of that information, I think that they need to have a warrant.
How long should you have to wait to have a bombing stopped? I mean, if they get information that in 25 seconds a bomb is going to go off in this school right here,
If that's
should
going
they
to
need a
happen,
warrant?
if that's going to happen in 25 seconds, they don't have time to get a warrant anyway.
It was an example. I understand her point because warrants sometimes can take weeks to get. Should we have to wait weeks if we know something's going to happen tomorrow?
If
Yeah.
we know, yes.
And if
I don't think we
information
should.
is usually very time sensitive.
I don't think they should have to if they know. If there's 100%
Half the
Sure.
time the police don't know when they get called out to a house on a domestic violence dispute whether or not it's even happening. You know, how do you absolutely know? You know, you have to go there and you have to see for yourself and you have to, you know, assess the situation in person.
Okay, but what is their warrant covering? Is it covering breaking into my house, or is it covering a public place where I may be planning on doing damage?
The warrant is exactly what the police get when they search your home. It's a warrant to invade your privacy. It's a warrant to be able to use the evidence that they gather against you in the court of law.
But the police don't need a warrant now when they have just cause. They can walk right into your home and search and seize whatever they want if they have just cause.
Exactly.
And they can make up
and the
whatever
NSA
excuse
can't?
they want.
The NSA
No, they
cannot.
cannot.
Currently, they need warranting to use any of the information that they've gathered to even present to the FBI, CIA,
Or the local police.
anything.
And that's one thing that I, as an American citizen, did not know. That's something that,
And it's wrong.
in your whole spiel about this, yeah, Maybe if the American public was more informed as to what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do, we wouldn't be so much against it. But from my immediate response, no, I don't want them invading my privacy. Invading my privacy is not something that if they know that I'm a criminal or they know that I'm going to commit some type of a terrorist act, they have the right to stop it. I expect them to stop it.
So far you've been against this, but now that you have a little bit more information, you're starting to lean towards this not being such a bad program so long as there were changes made to it, correct?
Not necessarily changes, but that I knew more about what they actually did.
Okay, all right. And
So the knowledge needs to get out there. The NSA is your friend. They're here to help.
correct. I think that this has been a very good debate, but I think that we're out of time. I appreciate you both coming on air and talking about this.
Thank you,
It's a
sir.
very, very touchy subject, I know.
It
However,
can be and it shouldn't be.
that's correct. I mean, it's a very good program in my opinion. I just think that a few reforms need to be made on it to make it help America and not fight against it.
Howard would be proud.
Thank you for having us.
Perfect.
And cut.
And cut, exactly, because that's way over 5 minutes.
That was good.